This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 623.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology.
Hello, everybody. This is Adam Silby, host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. We have one next weekend, WORDCAMP Pune. It is in Pune. It's in Mumbai. It's actually not in Mumbai. It's 125 miles southeast of Mumbai. There we go. There's my note. It is a single-day camp, February 8th. If you are in that part of the world, you should definitely go. Moving on, segment one, in the news, two things here. First of all, there is a free ebook of sorts, online book. I'm not sure how to word it. It's about accessibility. It's over at Accessibility for Everyone.site, S-I-T-E. It reframes accessibility from a scary legal requirement to a basic web hygiene. And honestly, we all in the web development space should be. This should be a required reading. I'm just going to say it that way. We should all be concerned about accessibility. Everybody has different issues, so go take a look at it. It's free, so you have nothing to lose. All right. Also, in the news, I missed this last month and a half ago, actually. December 3rd, this came out. ACF Pro 6.7 came out, and apparently this introduced inline editing, which was groundbreaking for ACF. For the ACF blocks, it allows content editors to edit blocks and the field data by clicking directly on what they want to edit in the block preview area without requiring any extra code or JavaScript by the block creator. It's pretty cool, if you know what that means. Anyway, I missed that. That came out about a month ago. Yeah, so check that out. Link in the show notes. Is that it in the news? That is it in the news. Moving on to segment two, the meat and potatoes of this week's episode, which is 8 weeks later, Q&A. Questions and answers. Questions by you, people sending in things, me answering the best I can. All right, first question is from Carol. This one is, my site is running an old version of WordPress 6.6 along with an old version of PHP 7. Is it 7? Just says 7, doesn't say which version. It's got to be 7.2, 7.3. Which is the best order to upgrade these? That's a good question. So I typically would go with WordPress core first. I just think that makes more sense to me because then the plugins will see the new version of core and want to be updated as well. And PHP 8 can break old plugins. So you got to be careful there. That said, if your host is forcing the PHP because of security, you can do PHP first, but I would recommend doing that on staging and be ready for a rollback really quick. Either way, do it on staging. Do core on staging, do PHP on staging, test some things out, make sure it all works. And then you can either push, if there's no new updates, from staging to live, or just redo it again on live. So that's how I would go. I would go WordPress core first and then PHP. That's just me. So I think that answers your question. Good question. Solid. Next question. This one is by, I don't have a name on this one. Anonymous. We'll call Anonymous. Is WP as a service still a thing? WAAS. Is WAAS still a thing? Yes, WordPress as a service still exists, but it has grown up. Now, the original dream here, for those who don't know, was like the Shopify for WordPress. What survived is niche WAAS opinionated stacks. It's different than what it kind of was supposed to be when this kind of rolled out years and years ago. A little history. Back in the day, WP Ultimo was like the poster child for the idea. It was a plugin. You spin up a site on Multisite, you sell plans, you auto provision, all the things, and boom, WordPress becomes the platform. And to be fair, it did work, at least technically speaking. What it also did was expose some hard truths. Multisite is powerful, but it's not forgiving. It supports, it can scale faster in one aspect, but the second a customer kind of needs one more plugin, that model starts to break pretty quickly. So oddly enough, what's funny to me is that most agencies are already doing this, but they just call it managed sites or subscriptions or productized services. They're kind of running a SaaS business on top of WordPress without ever putting this as a service on the homepage, right? That makes sense. So WAAS didn't die, but the hype behind it did. And what has survived technically is just the way WordPress used is how it's being used. It's kind of as a service, right? But we're not saying that anymore. So yes, it's a thing. There is a new plugin. Actually, I went to look it up. I forgot what it's called. I'll put a link in the show notes if I can find it. WP Ultimo ended. It was forked. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. Hold on one second. Yes, it's called ultimatemultisite.com. It looks like that is the fork of it. I guess this is still current. Is it free? Does it cost money? No, it looks like it's free. So yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes. So there you go. Or just go to it from here, from listening to what I'm saying. All right. So there you go. Good question, Anonymous. Actually, that leads me to the next question by Brian about multisite. Is multisite still viable? And how many instances is right per multisite, if that makes sense? Okay. So yes, very much still viable. And the proof of this is WordPress.com. It's the largest multisite install on the planet. And it works because of the constraints that are very clear, and the infrastructure is prepared properly and is a very serious infrastructure, right? Okay. That leads to the more interesting question, or the second question: how many instances is right? For someone who's not WordPress.com, when does it make sense? How big is too big? So for smaller teams, agencies, internal platforms, multi-site is ideal when you're dealing with dozens to probably low hundreds of sites, but not thousands. Think 10 to 100 as the comfortable zone. Now, I've heard issues with database being an issue on a multi-site, that it gets too big. But in digging around the internet, it turns out that it's usually not the database size that can bite you first. It's the WordPress, as databases are really actually kind of efficient these days on a good host. The bigger risk is operational. Backups take longer, restores are all or nothing, and one bad plugin update can affect every site if you're not careful, and that is a problem. Now, also keep in mind, hosting costs can also scale in a very sneaky way. Multi-site looks cheaper at first because it's one install, one code base, one database. But if traffic spikes, cron jobs need to be done, media uploads, and more users, you definitely need better, stronger, faster caching, memory, and monitoring. So multi-site shines and struggles at the same time because of that. It's amazing for shared infrastructure, shared plugins. It's not great when sites want to have wildly different plugins, themes, or performance profiles. So you got to keep that in mind. So the basic rule of thumb is this: if the sites are similar, governed, and intentionally constrained, it's fantastic. If every site wants to be a snowflake, well, then you want to pull it out of multi-site and just have multiple single site installs. So it didn't go away. Multi-site's not going anywhere. It just stopped being the default answer. It's a very sharp tool. In the right hands, it's elegant. In the wrong hands, it's a chainsaw. So there you go. All right. That's a great question there. That's from Brian. Here's one from Marcus. What's your favorite AI application, and how have you been able to use it to enhance not just your professional life, but your personal life as well? Well, I'm fairly invested, financially at least, with ChatGPT. I pay for it because I was running out of resources and I just needed more from it. And Marcus, you know this. You're the one who told me that you pay for it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pay for it as well. And it's awesome. I also use Gemini. It's part of my G Suite through work, so I use that as well. It helps me, both of them help me ideate, test, bounce ideas off of it. It's a tool, and I like to think I'm fairly good at prompting. It really takes good questions to get good answers. If you ask it kind of something silly, it's going to love you all the time. So you have to be honest with yourself of what does it provide for you. And it helps me kind of just start from a blank space, or instead of just having an empty cursor, I can say, I know, actually the way I word it is this way. It really does help me start. In my prompting, I almost get the answer I want. It just gives me additional information and ideas and something I'm not looking at originally from a broad stroke, if that makes sense. So that's my current favorite application is ChatGPT. So just because I've been using it the longest, probably. All right, next question here from Kyle. How are the big WordPress agencies incorporating AI tools into development? Well, I can't speak for other large WordPress agencies, but I can tell you about the one I work at. We use AI as a workflow assistant, not a decision maker. That's key there. I know that on the development side, it helps scaffolding code. It helps them with blocks and functions and just all things in development, commands, CLI, etc. But always very slowly and always with human review before anything ever ships. That is a de facto standard. We have that in our handbook. On the client side, where I live, we record meetings, we generate summaries from those meetings, and then we ask questions against the transcript later. What did we agree to? What's the timeline? What's the scope? functionality, all that stuff. And it's awesome. It really helps a lot. The common theme on this is that AI handles memory and first drafts. We humans handle judgment, trade-offs, and accountability. And that's where it really adds value. But having that ability to kind of have a conversation back and forth, giving it documentation, giving it an RFP, just to kind of pull out key elements, that is really important. And that actually works really well for us in an agency setting. So pretty cool. Kyle also sends in a second question, by the way. How's Parker? So overall, he's great. Thanks for asking. We celebrated the 1 year anniversary. I think it's how we want to call it, an anniversary of the accident back in December, which, to be honest, was harder in many different ways and that we didn't expect to see, or I don't know how to word that, but it was just weird. We all had our moments that week up to it. And but we made it through. And I recently did an update over on his website just last week. If you want to read about it, it's at parkersilver.com. So check that out if you want. Thanks for the inquiry on my son. Appreciate that. All right. That's it for the questions. You're welcome to send some in for 8 weeks from now. It'd be great to have new questions as well from new people. Segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This one is a Chrome extension. It's called Cookie Guard. I found this, I don't remember how. I needed to check out some cookies for a site we were investigating for something. It has real-time detection of affiliate tracking codes. It's pretty cool. It's free. I've used it off and on for the last, 6 to 8 weeks, I think. So check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes. There you go. All right, that is it for this week. If you have any questions, like I said, send them in. Adam@KitchensinkWP.com or use the speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon, KitchensinkWP.com/Patreon. If you want to sponsor, fill out the form. I'll get back to you. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye. You still there? You still listening? Okay. Marcus and Kyle both sent in a handful of questions. Just for you guys real quick. Marcus, where do babies come from? Really? Dude, come on now. Nice. And Kyle had a question. Who was your all-time favorite podcast co-host? I wonder who that would have been on that other podcast I had. Hard to say. I'm going to go ahead and say it was you, Kyle. I miss you. All right. Hope you're both doing well. And thanks for the questions. And I'm out.